Okay, fine. I'll make a Red Cow Arcade podcast.
Fine, I'll make an actual video talking about my experiences with Quinton Reviews. Hello, everyone.
Okay, fine. I'll do it. I'll talk about this thing you want me to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, there I was in bed, 11 o'clock at night, maybe later, and I opened this app called Twitter. I don't know if you've noticed, Twitter's off its hinges for the past year or so. I mean, I never really was on this app before, and now it's feeding me, just a lot of unpredictables.
Good or bad?
Entertaining.
Yeah, I have found the app is way more entertaining, but I'm kind of like a chaos goblin, so I'm all for it.
I didn't necessarily think of myself as one, but like I knew that like going on to Facebook and seeing routine politics from family and friends was not something that was very enjoyable. So I was like, well, imagine like the political cesspool that is Twitter. It's all they talk about. It's like that unfettered with anonymity.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a Thunderdome type situation.
Yeah. There's a YouTuber named Quinton Reviews. The first time I ever heard of him was during Channel Awesome's Change the Channel thing that was happening there, where all of his former collaborators that were on the site had grievances. Famously, it had Lindsay Ellis involved and I guess others. You know, that group of fedora hat wearing Naruto running.
Yeah, absolutely. Naruto running.
And this Quinton Reviews guy, this dude with a beard, did a video essay. He educated me a little bit, and then I think he actually reviewed one of those Doug Walker movies, like To Boldly Flee or something. I never watched those movies. I mean, they're comically long, like 4, 5, 6 hours, something like that.
I'm not super familiar with Quinton's content, but he does seem like the evolution of the nostalgia critic, where he reviews it, so you don't have to, you know.
That's what I thought, but I think as I went into his content a little bit more, it was like, we represent folks in the essayist YouTube space.
Yeah, they're long retrospectives. They're like 5, 6 hours.
I don't know what an iCarly is. I know what an iParty is. Is it the same?
Is it the same? You go get party supplies?
Yeah, so Twitter throws at me a big thread about how Quinton Reviews did something right. She's like going to expose Quinton Reviews. That's what I understood. And I'm like, okay, what is, I'm exhausted and should probably sleep now. Let's read this.
Let's read this drama.
And so I go through whatever it is, like 15 tweet thread, and it's got the air about it of like, this guy abused me. A tell all about what it was like to work for Quinton Reviews. And a lot of support in her replies, but I'm just looking for like, what was the transgression? When I revisited his YouTube channel, because I was like, what's this guy up to? And his videos get millions and millions of views. So like since I learned of him, he's become very successful. She edited for him. That's why we're covering this, by the way, is because EJ and I are interested in slob news. Beyond James Rolfe, when else do YouTube creators slob out, and how does it go?
Yeah, she made this thread, then she made a video, and then he responded with a 45-minute video. He
went in his Discord, this is 2 years ago, and he needed some editing talent to help him with an iCarly retrospective, a long-form one. And she volunteered. They did not, I think it's ultimately true that they did not discuss payment terms until work was delivered.
Payment was not discussed until after the video was released. Hell, I didn't even know how much I would get paid until the video dropped.
And then when it was delivered, he paid her $2,000.
For the first iCarly video, I paid her $2,000. For the second iCarly video, I offered $1,400 because I wasn't sure the video was going to do well and there had been a lot of issues. And she said, no, I want $1,700. So I sent her $1,700.
He offered $2,000, of which PayPal took a cut. I didn't even know I was being underpaid until experienced editors pointed it out to me.
I was overworked because I didn't sleep, I didn't eat. I just did nothing but edit this iCarly thing. I went crazy on it. And I was really hoping he'd recognize that, and he was kind of slow getting me assets, and so he had bad work ethic.
In total, I was working about 7 hours a day on that iCarly video, along with school and my own content. And instead of showing respect for my time, he would take forever to send me the assets. It left me on the edge, constantly on my toes throughout August and September.
She's like early 20s, he's like mid 20s. And she was like, I until other people told me, I didn't know I was being abused, with this $2,000. Like, you make more than that. Editor should be, it is her first ever editing job. If it was 40 hours, right, that comes out to, would it be $50 an hour, right?
Yeah. As somebody who started off in editing, that's a good rate. Not especially for a beginning editor.
So overworked, underpaid.
I was overworked, underpaid.
And then the big one that was really sus, as somebody her age might say, she was under the impression that he would be her friend and that he did not treat her like a friend. So he's full of shit. He didn't treat me like a friend. I'm reading that and I'm like, what?
I eventually realized that he never treated me as a friend, even though he called me one. I felt like everything was one-sided, that I was giving way more than I was receiving. And then, in November, our friendship fell apart.
Frankie, when I was starting off in editing, I really wanted the random people contracting me to, I don't know, be in a unprofessional relationship with me.
He promised. And all of her screenshots in her expose, I'm reading through them and I'm like, this is immaculate. This guy, maybe you could have workshopped this word or that word, but I mean, real minor. I'm like, this would all stand up. If there was an HR department involved in this would all be fine,
I kind of need an HR department.
So it became obvious, even just from her expose, that she was in love with him. That's what really was going on, was that she had feelings for the guy and was lashing out at him.
One of my editors sent me a personal message on Discord telling me that they were in love with me. I saw that you called me the linchpin for the iCarly videos. Could I be the linchpin in your love life too? Again, I mean, she probably lives in a bubble. She probably has a group chat where people, you know how friends do. They'll kind of reinforce yeah. And what about that? And what about that? And then it kind of, I heard somebody say it feels like your messages left the group chat, And then, she makes this video, and that's the first time I see her. And she does that thing, that signature that the Lindsay Ellises and the kind of the YouTube essayists do that EJ kicked us off with, which is they're like, and they pour a glass of wine.
And I made sure to put it in the wrong glass too.
Yeah, so right off the bat, it's comical.
It's like college kid stuff, yeah.
It's in a pint glass, and she's like, sorry, I don't have any glasses. And, I don't know, she comes off very emotionally dysfunctional, socially dysfunctional.
Yeah, I mean, I have a theater minor, and I worked in theater for a while, so it's kind of that theater attitude. The theater...
Like where your default personality is as a bad actor.
Yeah. It's kind of that breathy, always sort of theatrical.
It feels to me like she's from Mars. And they fed her a few hours of kind of Sarah Z, Lindsay Ellis type content. And they were like, be like this. Remember Edgar from Men in Black? Who's like, I put my hands, my hands. She kind of has that level of unnaturalism, which is kind of like, fine, I will talk about... A little off center.
You're under arrest for violating sections 4153 of the Tycho Treaty.
So hand over whatever galaxy you might be carrying and step away from your busted-ass vehicle and put your hands on your head.
Put some sugar in my wine.
You want sugar water? Water. Sugar. That's Vince D'Onofrio. That's Men in Black is the first one. That's an excellent movie.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I think her video had 2,500, maybe 3,000 views. It just didn't have that much heat. She was saying things like, he can't hide forever. Was repeating that.
They've been following me around on every social media site they can find me on, just trying to get a reaction out of me.
There was the odd comment that was like, So, like, I feel really bad for you. It does seem like something bad happened to you here. I mean, you know, it's really shitty when YouTubers don't pay their editors right. One little thing, though, is I would leave out the thing about the friends thing. I mean, I don't really see how that, it kind of diminishes the rest of your argument. So people were sort of trying to feed her that, and she was responding. She was going, I remember she was like, well, I only mentioned that because he said he would be my friend. So I just wanted to like clarify that for the audience. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I considered him a friend, and he told me he considered me a friend.
We agreed. We were like, Quinton, he can probably safely ignore this forever, right?
It was getting like light views, but it wasn't like blowing up. He could have safely ignored it. I think he could have safely ignored it.
There were a surprising number of people who were like, I knew there was something fucked up about that guy. Like, what? $2,000? Are you kidding me? You think he's toxic? Come edit for me.
Yeah. I'll barely pay you.
I mean, really. You'd have to be in it for the love of it.
Yeah.
But he put up a video. It was one of those vague posting titles, like, I respond to everything. For 45 minutes, he talks about this. And he opens with a bang. He's like, so I had a situation where I hired an editor 2 years ago who confessed her love for me, and from that point on, everything got really bad.
And I just need you guys to understand that this thing happened, that I didn't like that it happened.
He goes into overdrive trying to explain, like, and since then I pay editors more, and so I just want to make sure people don't think I'm running a sweatshop. And I'm like, you know, look.
I do have a better system, you know, where I pay my editors on average a lot more. I am not running a sweatshop. I do pay my editors. This is going to sound like an outrageous number, but last year I spent more than $80,000 on my editing team.
I remember in her screenshots, there was this whole diatribe where she was like, so then like I was going back to school and I had classes. So I sent Quinton my course schedule.
I even showed him my calendar.
Because she's demanding these assets, and then like Quinn's like, hey, it's like there's no rush here. You can just I understand everything that you're going through. It's like
he's trying to be nice. He's like, oh shit, that looks like a crazy class schedule. School looks hard. Yeah. Whenever you get around to it. So his side of the story, he's trying to mentor people to have his editing style. She auditioned, right? And came back like way too fast with something, but he hired her anyway, even though it was kind of shoddy work.
Starting off, I had a really, really hard time finding people that passed the audition. So this one person in my Discord asked to audition and they passed, but they were basically the first person I hired. And that is the editor that is the topic of this video. I was expecting I would record like a whole season of audio at once, and then they would spend 2 to 4 weeks editing. 2.5 days after I sent that audio off, she messages me and she's done. She's done with like 90 minutes of material. But there were a lot of problems. I just started sending this editor a wall of things that were wrong. So if it took her 2 days to edit this originally, it took me 2 days to fix it. But I had so few people that understood my vision and were enthusiastic about it that I decided to continue working with her until I could find better opportunities.
To kind of jump to the finish here, her explanation was like, I was trying to impress the fuck out of him because I was in love with him.
I didn't sleep working on your videos because I wanted them I wanted to get them out fast enough to impress you.
And so she gets drunk on 2 separate occasions. The first where she asks, like, what do you feel about me? You know, because I really like you, man. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this. I don't want to bring it up because I don't want to push you away, but I just really love you. And he handles it very passively, but I still think quite clearly. Yeah. Where he was like, I think of you as a really great friend.
Hilariously saying, you my homie.
I think you're an awesome, funny person and a great friend, and I'm grateful to have you around. Now get some rest, hun. And then I wrote, you my homie.
Yeah, he goes, now get some sleep, hun. That's my one criticism is like, you know, I don't think I'd go to the hun place with this person. And then he goes, you my homie.
Which is the most unsexy thing you can tell anybody.
Yeah, the universal sign for I'm not interested is you my homie.
I should not have approached that this way at any point. I should have been more blunt and upfront. But I was hoping if I left in some tone indicators saying stuff like, you're my friend, you're my homie, I was hoping she would get the gist.
So then some other night, not so long after, she professes love again. And this time he writes the letter of his life.
It's got bullet points.
Yeah, let me be extremely clear type stuff. She doesn't look at it because she's too embarrassed about what she sent. And so like they have a few other interactions after that before the bomb detonates. And then she sees it and she starts coming at him hard and starts saying the sorts of things that we would end up seeing in the tweets and in the video. Like, you promised you'd be my friend. You had no work ethic. I missed sleep because of you.
She said, when I was editing for your videos, I sacrificed everything in my life. I didn't see family. And she told me, she said, and I didn't sleep.
Isn't it funny that you could be anybody under any circumstance with any ridiculous, like, as long as you go out there in public and you go, boss bad.
Yeah, you'll get, yes, queen.
People love that shit. People hate their bosses. They hate their jobs. Boss bad, boss unfair. And,
Yeah, well, you know, I understand it too. I have a natural rebel instinct in me, like question authority. I think that's healthy, but yeah, I think it can obviously go overboard, especially when you dogpile on social media. I'm surprised Quinton even hired other editors after this. Can you imagine? It's like, oh, I'm trying to hire an editor, and the first person who's actually like shows promise is madly in love with you and trying to weasel their way.
It would scare me off forever. I'd be like, oh my God. And the thing that is worth emphasizing is that like she was scorned then in 2021 and has been basically like beating this drum all over all their socials for 2 years. He blocked her on all of them, and so like he hasn't seen it, but then people would mention it and he'd get really anxious about like, oh my God, what's it going to say? What's it going to be?
Since then, this editor has basically gone on following me all around on every social media account. I've often been told about it. Usually I'm too anxious to look at it.
Somebody in our Discord had never heard of Quinton before, and they clicked and they were like, oh, like some neck beard or something. And I was like, look, the man might have beard on his neck, but a neck beard is something you are inside.
It's a way of life.
I don't see a fedora cosplaying medieval chivalry.
Well, he does have a lot of Garfields. I don't know.
But do you think that type, the milady fedora thing, like it got so memed, it got so shamed, that type doesn't even exist anymore, really?
Yeah, I don't...
But neckbeard was such a useful term that they kind of had to like pivot it and be like, okay, well, what else could it be? Who else could be a neckbeard? I think men everywhere should stand up and grow beard only on their necks.
I do have a little bit of neck beard, but I have beard. So.
How about neckbeard November instead of...
Where, yeah, maybe I'll shave all of this except my neck.
So I think that his editing adventures after that went well for him, but boy, what a way to start.
Like I said, I do have to hand it to him with how he handled it.
And it is funny, like all this like real serious talk around like, so when I did the iCarly retrospective.
Yeah. And then I moved on to the Victorious reviews, and it's like, what the hell is all this?
I knew that I had to uncover all details about the Fairly Odd Parents. So I needed to find somebody who not only could edit, but understood Fairly Odd Parents.
After all, things are seldom what they seem. Non semper sunt quae videntur.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.